So today it is October 25th, meaning that the NFL trade deadline is only 1 week away on November 1st. And many teams around the NFL are looking around, seeing if there are options available to bolster their roster, and the Packers seem to be one of these teams. I want to read a new report that came out in the past couple hours about exactly what the Packers are doing right now. Reportedly, this is a report from Jordan Schultz here on Twitter, who says, Packers have been actively calling around the league to trade for a receiver. Sources tell The Score. Randall Cobb is on IR. Christian Watson has battled a hamstring, and Sammy Watkins' hamstring was activated last week. I'm told Green Bay's hope is to find someone still on a rookie deal. So we know that in the past, the Packers have been in lots of conversations. Brian Gutekunst himself loves to call around the league to always see exactly what the price of certain players could be, because any player could be a good option depending on the price that certain team is asking for. So just because the Packers have supposedly or reportedly been calling about a receiver obviously doesn't mean they're going to necessarily make a trade. It could just mean that they're looking around to see if there is a potential option, if there is someone that could make sense. And as I've said in the past, the Packers haven't really been a team to come in here and make massive moves right before the trade deadline. But honestly, I think this time it could be different. There are many reasons. The Packers are struggling mightily right now, currently sitting at 3-4. And as Jordan Schultz noted, this wide receiver core has been absolutely decimated by injury. Randall Cobb on the IR, Christian Watson, hamstring injury. Sammy Watkins was on the IR for the past 4 games besides this past week when he came back. And then earlier this week, we see Allen Lazard goes down with a shoulder injury last game, was seen in a sling a couple days ago. So the Packers receiver core has been absolutely thinned out. And I think that when you add in that fact, you add in how stagnant this Packers offense has been overall, I really think the Packers need to make a move at wide receiver. And honestly, I think it's going to happen. The reason is because of all those factors already mentioned. I think Brian Gutekunst knows right now that for the Packers to be able to be a top team, they need to have another receiver on this team. That doesn't necessarily mean that adding a receiver is automatically going to make this team head and shoulders better, but it's definitely going to help get the Packers back in the right direction. If we were to add someone, and if these other guys start to get healthy, it could potentially add a boost to this Packers offense. And I think if you're Brian Gutekunst, you have to try to do something here, because right now things are not working. So I want to focus on one note from this tweet that I think is very interesting, is the final line. Jordan Schultz says, I'm told Green Bay's hope is to find someone still on a rookie deal. So of course, when you trade for someone, the cap situation is important. And right now the Packers are sitting at around $6 million left in cap space, which isn't a ton. And so maybe for a guy like a DJ Moore, his contract potentially wouldn't fit in this Packers cap. But as you know, teams can always finagle with the salary cap, so I would never say never for a certain player. But obviously, it's much easier for the Packers to trade for a receiver on a rookie deal just because their cap hit would be much less. So there are 3 guys that I think would make the most sense I want to go over here. So first off, we have Jerry Jeudy, who is currently on the Denver Broncos. He is in the 3rd year of his rookie contract. The Broncos season has not been going as they had hoped, currently sitting at 2-5. And teams apparently have been calling the Broncos about Jerry Jeudy as well as KJ Hamler. And I think Jerry Jeudy would be a great addition to this Packers offense. A former first-round pick, very fast, a very talented receiver. The question is, how much would he cost? Maybe a 2nd-round pick, maybe a 3rd-round pick. Maybe you could do like a 2nd and a 4th, or I don't know, 3rd and 4th, something like that. I honestly think the Packers, I would be completely fine if the Packers traded a 2nd-round pick for Jerry Jeudy. Just when you look at this Packers team and the fact that we signed Rodgers to his massive contract, our belief in the Packers was that this year they would still be a very competitive team. So I have no problem if the Packers want to trade a future pick to pick up a receiver who could maybe change some things for this Packers offense. Next up, we have Elijah Moore, who is over there on the Jets. The Jets have been playing very well, but Elijah Moore seems to be not very satisfied with the targets he is getting and the role he has on this Jets offense. And because of that, he did request a trade. It doesn't really seem necessarily like the Jets will trade him, but there's a chance there. He seems very unhappy with his situation, which it could make sense for someone like him on a rookie deal to be traded. If the Jets want to do that, the Packers could be interested. The final guy here, and of course there are other players as well, but these are the 3 biggest I was contemplating, is Chase Claypool, who we've discussed a little bit on this channel, who since the preseason has reportedly been in the topic of trade talks among other teams. The Steelers have been struggling, and maybe because they already have Deontay Johnson on a new deal, they drafted George Pickens as well. They could decide to trade Chase Claypool for some kind of pick. Who knows what kind of pick it would be. And he has a year and a half left on his rookie contract, so that could make sense as well. Personally, I would prefer Jerry Jeudy. I think he's the most talented of the three, but any of those guys would be a great add for this Packers team overall. So we'll see if Brian Gutekunst makes a move, but personally, I really think they're going to make a move. I feel like they have no option but to make a move, and I honestly think it's like an 80% chance the Packers trade for a receiver. Maybe I'm crazy, and maybe I'm getting too hopeful that this could happen, but I think this year the Packers desperately need a receiver as opposed to the past few years. Yes, it could have helped this team, but we weren't desperate enough to trade for a receiver. This year, I honestly think things are going to be different, so we will see if that happens in the next 7 days. If not, oh well, but I honestly think it's going to happen.